Ignoring how her father abandoned her and her sister tried to kill her, she clutched the gown in her grip and blankly stared. She was astonished at how she hadn't shed a single tear remembering the people she had spent her whole life with. Except for Lotus. No one deserved her love and tears. They discarded her, and it was time to embrace the new life, even though it was with someone as ruthless as one could only read in books. It was time to embark on this new road of life. And the first step was donning this gown and facing his pack. She wasn't sure what the new life held, but one certainty remained. Cassandra LeBlanc was not a quitter. The lands of Dusartine were vast, with rugged terrain characterized by its harsh climate. The scorching sun shone mercilessly on the ochre-colored earth and gold-shaded sand during the day, while nights brought a sharp drop in temperature and howling winds. It was interspersed with towering sand dunes, which occasionally shifted with winds. The monumental rock formations provided natural shelters. These formations were often riddled with caves and tunnels, some of which served as the entrances to Cyrus's shifter clan. Most of their dwellings were inside these caves, or underground in the vast natural area. It was cool, which shielded them from the sun and other predators that lurked in the sands of Dusartine. Some stone houses had been built along the biggest oasis that lay outside their main dwelling. The Lunar Mirror, as the oasis was called, a sacred place for the shifter pack. It was surrounded by palm trees on 3 sides, totem poles with the symbol of Dusartine pack carved on them, and large magical crystals had been erected in between these trees to keep away the enemy and other creatures. Behind the oasis lay the saffron fields, which served as the main livelihood of the people of Dusartine. The whole shifter clan had gathered outside to welcome their alpha and future Luna. One of the men who was accompanying Cyrus was an eagle shifter, so he had shifted and flown ahead to inform their people that Alpha would be arriving soon. Everyone impatiently waited, as the stillness of the evening was disrupted by the galloping of the horses across the desert. Their hooves pounded the sun-baked earth, sending clouds of golden grains spiraling into the air. The dry, gritty particles scattered in all directions, getting caught in the last embers of the dying Sunday. Dust trails marked their path, lingering in the wake of their passage, before slowly drifting back to the ground. The desert announced its arrival before reclaiming its stillness. Cyrus's obsidian beast was in the lead as he pulled the reins, and the stallion raised its front legs in the air before dramatically bringing them down and halted, neighing loudly. Cyrus cast a devoted look at his people and raised his fist in the air and shouted, "Nisa Huna! Luna is here." The thick crowd of almost naked bodies went into a frenzy seeing their alpha return and hearing the announcement. Men mostly wore loincloths around their private regions held by all kinds of belts, depending on their rank, from gold to silver to simple brown leather and animal hide. Women wore lighter fabrics and were more clothed than men. Some adorned knee-length dresses of very light material, while others used animal hides. Almost all of them had bronze skin, the color of the sand below their feet. In front stood some older women and men of their clan, with satisfied smiles twisting their faces. They were the elders of the pack, the most respected people. They made the rules and ensured they were followed by all, including their unruly alpha. Prominent amidst them was an elegant woman with beautiful chestnut-shaded hair that had been adorned with beads and desert flowers. She held 2 small garlands adorned with desert marigolds and saffron, native to Dusartine. Other horses filed behind Cyrus, and the carriage containing Cassandra halted behind him too. The frenzied shouts dimmed to whispers of anticipation, as everyone tried to stand on the tips of their toes to take a look at their Nissa. Cyrus dismounted his stallion and patted him for bearing him through this difficult journey. His Gamma stepped forward and bowed, taking the reins of the stallion. "Alpha, welcome back to the lands." "It's an honor to return," Cyrus gleefully stated, making his way towards the carriage. He wasn't sure if Cassandra had chosen to wear the gown he had offered her earlier. Ferris had dismounted his steed as well and held the door open. Cyrus approached and waited for Cassandra to appear in the doorway with a frantic heart. His awaiting eyes darted to the open space and she poked her head out, dressed in the gown he had gifted her. Their eyes met. Violet mingled with the sandy gold. Beats of his heart turned erratic as he extended his hand and offered his palm for her to take. Her soft hand landed in his, and his rough fingers bent and curled up against hers. Sparks like fireflies erupted where their hands connected, and they fluttered not only around their skin but in their bellies as well. He carefully guided her down. The crowd held their breaths, craned their necks, and stood mesmerized as Cyrus raised Cassandra's hand. They enraptured in the deafening sounds of their victorious howls and growls that pierced the silent evening. Cassandra raised her curious gaze and took in his people. Tanned, glistening skin, dark hair, layers and layers of muscles and expectant eyes. What they expected from her was foreign to her for now. Cyrus guided her forward towards a woman in her mid-50s, holding garlands. She was affectionately smiling at the approaching couple. Wearing a gold silk gown among the others, it showed Cassandra she held a high rank. The noise died down as Cyrus raised his free fist while stopping in front of the woman. She said in a very calming but shrewd voice, "Cyrus, my son, the gods have blessed you." Cyrus bowed his head in front of her, and she placed the garland around his neck. "Mother," he uttered with respect and raised his head. Letting Cassandra's hand go, he took the hand of his mother and placed a small kiss on its back. "May I present my mate? Cassandra LeBlanc," he reverently stated. His mother's wisdom-filled eyes were already focused on his mate. While Cassandra observed her appearance was striking, her features sharp, just like her son's, and were framed by dark, flowing hair that seemed to move with a life of its own. "What a pretty little mate you have been blessed with. Welcome to Dusartine." Her words held this sharp edginess to them, which Cassandra felt in her bones, and they hinted at her quick wit. Stepping forward, she placed the garland around a very bewildered Cassandra, who was still trying not to panic being around so many unfamiliar people. And now she had been thrust right in front of Cyrus's mother. She wasn't even sure what to call her, so she sufficed. "Thank you for your kindness, Halia. You can address me as Luna Halia." Vera was the title for former Luna, or any adult female who belonged to a high rank. Since Cyrus didn't have a mate, his mother was currently handling all the pack affairs. Therefore, she still held Luna's status in the pack, but the way she had said it had Cassandra's mind whirling in many directions. While Cyrus was busy introducing his mate to his mother and other elders of the pack, a jealous pair of eyes were following his every move from afar, and then they narrowed at Cassandra. "Cyrus is mine, in flesh and in heart. Let's see how long you last, Cassandra." She spoke slowly, but in spite, so only the two girls standing beside her could hear. Halia's eyes glinted with a sharp, calculating look as her gaze remained fixed on Cassandra. Her lips curved into a sly smile, one that spoke of secrets and unspoken knowledge. Her posture was relaxed, yet there was an unmistakable air of confidence in the way she held herself. Halia's appearance was striking, her sharp features framed by dark, flowing hair that seemed a darker shade of what Cyrus had inherited. Cassandra, on the other hand, felt a shiver run down her spine under Halia's scrutinizing stare. Despite her careful and composed demeanor, a sense of unease crept into her mind. She instinctively straightened her posture, her hands clasping together as Cyrus let go of her hand. Cassandra's eyes, usually soft and observant, darted briefly away from Halia's penetrating stare, seeking a moment of escape. Though outwardly poised, her heart raced, aware that she was in the presence of someone whose intellect and cunning were formidable. The encounter left her feeling both wary and oddly fascinated. She wondered what kind of woman she must be once Cassandra got to know her in the literal sense. After meeting Halia, Cyrus introduced Cassandra to a few other elders of his clan. She was respectful. Being raised as a royal, she knew how to conduct herself amidst a group of people. But her heart fluttered like a tiny butterfly, for she didn't know their customs and could only hope someone would teach her later and she wouldn't end up offending anyone. She could sense a shift in Cyrus's attitude. He had smiled at her when she had exited the carriage, but that smile didn't touch his gold-dusted eyes. He was busy showing her around, but there was a certain edge to the way he was speaking, as if trying to create some kind of barrier. He didn't make any effort to speak with her regarding his family members earlier. A group of young girls tittered standing at the side. Their faces had different colored paint lines on them, starting from the middle of their lower lip and extending to their chins. Their necks, arms, bellies, and ankles were decorated with different styles of jewelry made from dried flowers, beads, and precious stones. Although their eyes held respect and something more for their alpha, Cassandra observed there was only animosity she observed for herself. A particular female in the front, who had her arms crossed against her ample chest, watched Cyrus with a complicated blend of emotions. Softness and longing were the prime ones. A flame of bitterness burnt bright in her yellow, snake-like eyes as they swiveled towards Cassandra. Her nails dug into her smoothly tanned skin as one of her companions murmured something in her ear, and she nodded. Moving forward, Cyrus and Cassandra separated. "I have something important to discuss." He addressed the male elders, and they nodded. Filing behind him, they moved into the direction of the oasis where a stone hut lay. Halia took the initiative of taking Cassandra inside the cave system they lived in. "It's not as grand as your father's palace, but we have a decent place considering we are a desert clan," Halia proudly stated. Cassandra politely smiled and didn't dwell on the matter. They passed through a passageway. The rocky walls had torches mounted on them to light the area. Their fires slowly crackled and bristled as the slow gale blew through, keeping it airy. The temperature exponentially dropped as they entered the place. Soon, the tunnel led them to an open area where many other tunnels merged as well. The whole place was lit with oil, lamps, and torches. The small holes in the ceiling covered with mesh iron removed the smoke from accumulating, and at the same time prevented the bugs from getting inside. Cassandra watched wide-eyed how the place was like a labyrinth. So many passageways, stairways, and floors this place had. It seemed like a hub, a kind of hall where all of them gathered for meals and other activities. Long wooden tables and chairs lined the side of this meeting area. The floor was hard granite, but seemed to have been smoothed out, so it was even to walk along. The center had a well dug in with a bucket and rope attached to its thick, stony boundary. It had been covered with some thick material to prevent anything from falling inside. That's where they must get their water from, Cassandra concluded, watching it with admiration. She was offered a chair. With a warm smile, Cassandra thanked them and settled on it. Females gathered around her, staring as if she was some miracle. She was so different from them in appearance. Maybe that's what made them stare at her so openly. Cassandra tightly held her hands in her lap, feeling nervous as so many eyes were focused on her. Halia was handed a wooden plate with dried paint made from grinding rocks. The unmated female shifters in our culture wear black paint on their chin. Since you have not mated with my son, you will wear it too, Halia announced, turning to face Cassandra. The latter had observed how some of the women had black lines, while others had red, while a few had white. She could only guess the meaning of red and white. Rubbing her index finger in the black powder, Halia brought it near Cassandra's chin and made a straight line from her lower lip down to her chin. A murmur went around the females. They spoke a different language, the one Cyrus had spoken when they had arrived. Cassandra couldn't tell if they were excited at the development or irated. Halia then went on to hand Cassandra a small round wooden box with a lid on it. The top was elongated so it could be easily lifted. "This is the onyx powder, the one I just used on you. Every morning you would need to paint your chin with it," Halia explained, handing the plate back to another female. Cassandra curiously lifted the lid to peek inside the box. It was filled with the same black powder. She was in no hurry to mate with their brooding alpha, who was slightly unhinged and wore a crown made from the bones of his victims. But she was slightly astonished that the first item they handed her as a welcome was this powder. It seemed they were in no hurry as well for their mating ceremony, which was quite contradictory from Cyrus's claim that everyone was expecting her. Maybe they had to go through some ritual she wasn't privy to know about yet. Her line of thought was interrupted when one of the females snickered at her. It was the same female she had observed outside. The malice in her yellow eyes astonished Cassandra. For someone whom she had never seen before, the girl seemed to have developed a certain dislike already. Cassandra wondered who the girl really was. We always have supper together, like one big family, and it's prepared by us women. Everyone takes part in it. Halia's words interrupted her thoughts once again, and Cassandra shifted her eyes from the glowering girl to her. Another elderly woman spoke. Men bring the game from their hunt. Women cook. All of us eat. Cassandra nodded her head in understanding, but her throat dried. Even if she was not the favored daughter in her household, she had never cooked anything in her entire life. Princesses in their tradition weren't supposed to do these chores. They were meant to look pretty, dress gorgeously, and take care of their skin. With Lotus around, most of Cassandra's work was managed by her maids. But this place was not her father's palace. She was used to managing herself and was a quick learner. She could try and learn this new skill. The question arose, was there anyone willing to teach her? Or would she be left to fend for myself? We only eat twice, morning meal and supper. Morning meals are prepared individually because everyone has their own sleeping habits. But for supper, we eat together. Halia further explained, taking a seat beside her. For a few days, you will be served the morning meal. But after that, you will have to manage it on your own for yourself and Cyrus, Halia continued to say, making her palms sweaty, even though it wasn't hot inside. A few girls snickered at the remark, and the one who had been giving Cassandra murderous glares said it loud enough for everyone to hear. Ana muta akid min anaha sof tafsha. I am sure she is going to fail. Silence. Kella. Halia's authoritative voice sounded loud and clear, as her head slowly turned to glare at the girl. The smile wiped off her snickering face, and she bowed her head in submission. Cassandra understood she had mocked her. The girl screamed trouble, and Cassandra could only hope that she wouldn't become another Stephanie for her. Since Halia had already silenced her and she didn't understand what was said, the girl with gold in her hair decided to remain quiet, but made a mental note that she would learn their language. She also pondered on the work that she would be needing to do for Cyrus. To act as his personal cook was not on the agenda, or did he forget to give me the rule book? Cassandra kept those thoughts to herself, though. It was going to be between him and her. She was new for them, and had to weigh every word she would utter. Letting them know her weaknesses will only hurt her in the long run. Halia didn't seem like an evil woman, but from what Cassandra had gathered so far, she appeared to crave control and enjoyed remaining in it. Not challenging her authority would be favorable for Cassandra, for now, as long as she didn't try to cause problems. The fact that Halia hadn't even asked Cassandra if she could cook, knowing too well she was a princess, revealed that she was testing her, trying to understand how mentally strong she was in handling a situation where she had no idea what to do. The violet-eyed girl knew she couldn't let herself appear as someone whiny. She would prove herself in every task they would throw at her. I will manage, Cassandra told her, with a respectable smile, which seemed to please the older woman. She believed the younger girl was compliant and could easily be controlled. Halia had no clue how wrong she was. I didn't expect anything less, Halia praised with a smile that brightened her intelligent face. She then turned to a girl with a red line drawn on her chin and said, Lana, why don't you take Cassandra to her chamber so she can freshen up? We will lay out the supper. An olive-skinned girl with a head full of braids and a heartwarming smile on her face got up and approached Cassandra. She was donning a short dress made from some kind of animal hide, and her arms were adorned with multi-shaded bangles. A single red flower neatly decorated the left side of her head. The term dark beauty must have been coined keeping her in mind. There was something surreal about her, almost to the point of mesmerizing. Nissa, I will take you. She spoke with such kindness that a smile was quick to grace Cassandra's lips. She got up and followed the girl. The women shuffled, offering them the passage to pass through. Cassandra heard murmurs and snickers again. She internally sighed, not having asked for this and having nowhere to go. Her life was turning into one big struggle. Once, they were out of the earshot of the women and moved along the earthen floor. Lana slowed down her steps to fall in with Cassandra's. We are honored to have you here, irrespective of what some of them make you feel. She spoke politely. That's kind of you. I guess one can't please everyone, Cassandra answered, with a slow smile that was her grace. Avoid and ignore Kella. She is trouble. I will guide you on these matters, as I am going to be your second in command once Alpha will claim you. Her words made Cassandra wonder who she was. Seeing her slightly confused, Lana's warm smile widened. I am Renon's mate, the Beta. You must have met him during your travels. Oh, yes. He was kind to me. My mate is kind. He and Seneferis are the kindest and funniest. They are best pals, she informed Cassandra with pride, touching the red line on her chin, piquing her interest. Does the red line mean mated? Cassandra quietly asked, keeping her curious eyes focused on Lana's chin. Yes, and white is for widowed ones who chose not to take second mates or never found them, Lana explained, making Cassandra nod in understanding. They had reached a pair of stone steps and began to ascend. Reaching the top, Lana took a left turn, and they arrived outside a huge rectangular structure with a wooden door that was painted in gold shade and seemed new. Alpha arranged the chamber for you before he left to fetch you. I hope you will find it to your taste. No one has a chamber like this. Lana knowingly smiled and pushed open the door to reveal the insides. Warm, earthy notes wafted out from the room and hit Cassandra in abundance. She carefully stepped inside and was left fascinated. The room exuded a charm very similar to Cyrus, with walls painted in warm hues of gold and rust, creating a cozy and inviting atmosphere. The floor had a thick plush rug made from the hide of some animal Cyrus must have hunted. Instead of a bed, there was a large, soft mattress covered with overstuffed cushions and pillows arranged in a neat yet relaxed manner. They seemed so inviting that Cassandra wished to sink into their softness. She was reminded of her bedding in the carriage. He had taken utmost care to keep her comfortable and safe. Along the walls were lined wrought iron candle holders, with tall, flickering candles filling the room with soft amber light. The air was perfumed with the subtle, soothing scent of desert sage and sandalwood, emanating from a small, ornate incense burner placed on a low wooden table in the corner. Though there were no windows, 2 small round holes high in the wall allowed fresh air to circulate, ensuring the room remained well ventilated and pleasant. They were covered with mesh iron. Only half of the room was separated by tall wooden dividers. Cassandra opened one of the dividers and walked inside. It was a kind of washing area, with a clay toilet seat, wash basin, and an oval-shaped clay bathtub, painted in sandy tone. He seemed to have thought of everything. Cassandra smiled to herself and walked out. The simplicity and rustic elegance of the space melted Cassandra's heart, and she could only take in the natural beauty of this place. There was nothing glamorous, and yet it seemed peaceful. She could only wish her life here would be the same. Her luggage had been placed in one corner of the room. It was a wooden trunk with her father's crest on it, but it was painted with flowers, which meant Lotus must have given it to Cyrus to carry her belongings in. A smile adorned her lips. Seeing the wooden trunk and memories of home flooded her. Is it to your liking? Lana expectantly asked, seeing Cassandra slightly lost. It is. I appreciate it. If you require anything or want to ask something, don't hesitate. I will accommodate you, and it will remain between us, Lana said, closing the distance between them and standing by Cassandra's side. She understood that their Luna was royalty and not used to such a harsh life. Cassandra's heart flickered with a tiny hope. Lana gave off positive vibes, and she decided to put a tiny bit of trust in her. For now, she was wary, not knowing whom to trust in this place. She hesitated, but then revealed with a sheepish look. About that, I don't know how to cook. Lana's lips peeled back, revealing her white strings of pearls. A flash of understanding passed on her face. I understand. In the start, just follow my lead. Slowly, I will teach you. I don't even know what he likes to eat. Cassandra breathed out dejectedly and closed her eyes for a second. Let me be your guide. You needn't worry. Our alpha might have a hot head, but he is a just man who will do right by you, considering the kind of relationship you two will have." Lana's words slightly perplexed Cassandra. She knew they hadn't even started a relationship. All they felt was this blinding physical attraction. But what did she mean by will have? "I don't understand. Is there something I don't know?" Curiosity melted into perplexity, making Lana stiffen. Had the alpha not revealed the truth to his mate? And then it dawned on her that Cassandra was clueless about the complexity of their relationship. Lana quickly went on the defensive. "It's not my place to tell, Nissa. Alpha will speak himself on the matter." Cassandra's heart sunk into a dark ravine of despair. What was it that he was hiding? Before Cassandra could question her further, someone knocked on the door and informed them that supper was almost ready and they were required to join. "Let's get you freshened up and head down." Lana pointed towards the wash area and moved. Cassandra followed. There was a small glass jar with a mixture of herbs. She used that to wash her hands as Lana poured water from a pitcher. After tidying up, the girls headed down to the common area. It was bustling with energy, the chatter of the people, shouts of the few kids, and the aroma of the food. The men were helping the women put the food on the table. It had been cooked in large cauldrons and was being poured into pots using large wooden ladles. The charred camel meat and bean stew, with freshly made arbout bread, cooked on the round hot stones. Cassandra took a deep whiff, and the enticing smell made her stomach rumble. She had been eating bland meat for the past few days during the journey. Now this appeared like a feast. "Come, Nissa." Lana led her forward. The chatter dissolved into a slow hum, seeing Cassandra approach, and people made a way so she could get ahead at the top end of the table, where Cyrus, Halia, and Ferris Saturday. Ferris was laughing with a pretty female. From the looks of it, he seemed to be flirting. The face of the female was utterly flushed because of whatever love tales he was whispering in her ear. Cyrus was in deep talks with his mother. He was leaning towards her, and there was urgency in his voice. They spoke their language, which Cassandra didn't understand. The seat on the left side of Cyrus had been left unoccupied. That's where Cassandra was asked to sit. Her scent hit him like a cold splash of water on a scorching day. He could easily distinguish it amidst the hundreds of other scents. He halted his discussion, and his eyes wavered to her. The curtain of golden locks obscured half of her face from him, but then she slightly turned. Cyrus caught sight of her black-lined chin, and his eyes narrowed and brows scrunched together, confusing her. She didn't understand what had him suddenly scowling. His hand lifted, and he placed his thumb in his mouth, wetting it. It then instantly reached out, and he held her chin firmly. The sparks danced on her skin, but she tried to set herself free. "Stay still," he ordered in his deeply throaty voice. It didn't overwhelm her, but she obeyed, wanting to see what he was doing. Cyrus held on as his thumb swiped off the black line from it, trying to permanently remove it. Cassandra gaped at him in surprise as he continued on his relentless task. His mother opened her mouth to say something, but held her tongue, seeing her son's mood. Once the line had dulled enough that it was no longer prominent, and her chin had turned red from his incessant rubbing, he angrily announced for his whole pack to hear. His voice, a combo of authority and dominance. "My mate won't wear the black line. That's not her color. No one will mark her or leave any kind of mark on her, except me." Halia's expression slightly soured at her son's words. Since she was the one who had taken the initiative to place the black line on Cassandra, she took it personally. Cassandra was an unmarked female, and there was nothing wrong with following the tradition that their whole pack did. Cassandra is still unmarked, so it was appropriate to follow the tradition. Halia addressed her son, but in a very subtle and quiet tone. She didn't let any of her disapproval reflect in her voice. Cyrus, who was lost and staring at his mate, tore his eyes away and turned to face his mother. "Ma, I understand, but I don't want any black marks or any marks on her skin. Let that decision rest with me." The firmness of his tone revealed he didn't wish to discuss this topic any further. "As your wish. I will always respect that," Halia answered, plastering a smile on her wisdom-ridden face. But deep inside, she was worried. This was just a small tradition, and Cyrus had not valued it. What will happen when he refuses to follow important traditions? The elders wouldn't be pleased, and there could be discord. Cassandra studied their reactions carefully, trying to understand what triggered them. Once everyone had settled, Cyrus said grace, but unlike others, he didn't thank gods and goddesses. It made Cassandra wonder if he was not a believer. Today's meal is special. Today I have fulfilled my promise to my pack, the one I made when I ascended to the position of being your Alpha King. And I would like to take this moment and remind you all that I plan on keeping my oath as well. So, no one needs to worry about this new development in my life. Nothing has changed, but remember, Cassandra is my mate, and she is off limits. Anyone looks at her wrong and I will scour your eyes out, he warned. While his pack rejoiced and agreed, Cassandra felt a subtle sadness and dejection in his voice. His honey-shaded eyes flickered towards her for the briefest of seconds, and the hints of worrying and regret she picked up instantly. Before she could dwell more on why he felt that way and what oath he spoke about, she was interrupted by Ferris's cheerful voice. We can finally treat you to a proper meal. Try this. He filled the wooden bowl, placed in front of Cassandra, with piping hot bean stew. Thank you. Cassandra reluctantly smiled and offered her gratitude. Before he could offer her camel, meat, and bread, Cyrus cleared his throat. Focus on your eating, Ferris. Cyrus beat him to it, and placed a large but tender piece of meat on Cassandra's plate, wishing to serve his mate instead of letting anyone else do it. The piece was so oversized that half of it dangled out of her plate. No way she could finish it alone. Blesso. Brother is already jealous over you. Ferris snickered, seeing his elder brother getting all mushy for his mate. He winked and went back to talking to the woman beside him. Cassandra puzzledly stared at the meat and then at Cyrus. She didn't wish to be rude or act as if she was not appreciating their hospitality, but she also didn't wish to waste the food they had cooked with so much love. I can't eat all of this. It's too much, she slowly spoke, leaning slightly towards him so only he could hear. His brows raised in wariness at her words. You have hardly eaten anything during the journey. I might not be able to give you 5-course meals like your father, but I won't let you have an empty belly. Camel meat is delicious. Try it. Cassandra wished to roll her eyes at him for not understanding her point at all. Men, she thought. I don't want 5-course meals, but I also can't overstuff myself. There was a silent plea in her voice. He didn't understand that she had worn corsets most of her adult life, and her stomach could only hold as much as the result. Eat as much as you can. I will take the rest, he instructed, easing her burdens. Halia was observing their interactions from her side and listening to their conversations, but she was very subtle about it, acting as if she was engaged otherwise. Cassandra picked up the wooden spoon and dipped it in the stew. Taking a spoonful, she elegantly brought it to her soft lips and sipped without making a noise. The stew had a very distinctive taste, with a balanced flavor of herbs she had never tasted before. It left her wanting to have more. She dipped the bread in it and relished the uniqueness of its taste as well. It was thick and soft. Soon, the whole bowl was empty, and she craved more. Cyrus watched her eat with satisfaction. He had observed her enough to know she wasn't as entitled as the princesses usually were. She began to break the meat with her hands and eat, since they didn't use any forks and knives to eat like royals did. Cassandra found the experience quite different, but she tried to eat as others did when Halia interrupted her. Is it difficult to eat with your hands? I understand royal families use a lot of cutlery, she asked, sipping on her stew. Halia's movements were very thorough, very different from the rest of the pack. A little, but I will get used to it soon. The food is very delicious, Cassandra answered respectfully, earning herself an understanding smile from Halia. Cassandra ate until her stomach refused to accept any more food. Her belly has become bloated, and she knew if she was in her father's home, she would be reprimanded for eating like a commoner. She let out a deep breath and moved her plate slightly towards Cyrus. He quietly picked up the remaining piece and began to tear off the meat from the bones, using his teeth. He didn't even use his fingers to scrape away the meat, cleaning the bone white. After the meal, the dates were served, the speciality of their lands. They grew in abundance around the sacred oasis. Again, Cyrus pushed the whole plate piled up with black dates in front of Cassandra. "Eat. They are good for your health. You need to put some meat on those bones," he said without any reluctance, and Cassandra wondered again if he was trying to fatten her up. Didn't men prefer thin girls? She didn't understand this man at all. The man who ate like there was no tomorrow, and wished for her to do the same. What's the significance of this gesture? Is it generosity, expectation, or something else entirely? What secrets lie beneath the surface of their interaction? To more continue in next part.